Act of Defiance was number 24 in the Jack Ryan senior series. And like you said, Jack Ryan Jr. was spun off, I think, 12 books ago or something like that, 8 books ago, somewhere in there to have his own series. So when we got the call from Tom Colgan, who you could consider the steward of the Clancy universe, Tom Colgan works at Penguin Random House, and he was Tom Clancy's original editor. So in selecting Mark Greaney to sort of take the baton from Clancy and continue the series, Tom is that continuity from beginning to end. So not only is he, cheerleader for us, and fan, he's also sort of the guardrails that we rely on, throughout the series, and when we came up with the idea. So just to be clear, the estate is sort of takes a pretty cool like hands-off approach, and it's up to the authors and Tom Colgan really to decide where to go. So the idea of bringing Katie to the forefront was our baby. That was something that we generated, Katie and Kyle, because what we were thinking about is that you have the Ryan family, almost like a Blue Bloods sort of, analogy. The Ryan family has really established itself into service and government. And we had some other kids, what are Katie and Kyle up to? And so that was really exciting for us. And it gave us an opportunity to try to recapture some of that magic from the earliest days, the Hunt for Red October days, where Jack Ryan is out there in the field, CIA in over his head, fish out of water. I'm just an analyst, but I'm gonna go do it. And we had that opportunity with Katie, and so that was really exciting for us because at this stage in the series, book 24, Jack Ryan is the president. He's not leaving the Oval Office to, fast rope out of a Black Hawk, he's got his role to play. So how do we recapture that? And that's where the idea Katie came from.
I think that it was driven, the Act of Defiance being our first installment drove that, I think. But, and I will say, just to close the loop on the invite, Colgan, if you know Tom Colgan, you know that he is a very, very strategic guy. So we imagine now in retrospect that he had an idea that there was going to be when Mark Cameron was done, that he had us sort of in the queue. He had us write one Griffin book, maybe as an audition.
Mhm.
Feel like that at the time, but now looking back. But at the time that he hit us up, it wasn't the best timing for us, to be honest with you. Like it was, we've got the 3 other series that we had going. We had a standalone coming out, and when we sort of got wind that this might be coming through friends, that this meeting Tom was having with us might be this baton pass. We had a pretty frank discussion. Like, look, can we do it and do it well with all our deadlines and stuff? Like, and I was honestly, full truth, I was leaning towards no, we can't do it. Like, I don't think we have the time. And we sit down, we sit down with Colgan, and neither of us had done the math. And the very first thing, we're going to be unified. Well, we'll be polite, but we probably can't do it. The first thing out of Colgan's mouth is, well, if you do it, the first book that you will do in your first installment will be on the 40th anniversary for the Hunt for the Red October. And if you had a submarine book you could do. So I watched my business partner and friend glaze over with anticipation. My submarine officer buddy, I'm like, well, that's it. It's over. Right? It's like asking your wife if you should get a puppy in front of the kids, right? Like so so I guess that we kind of knew we were going to do it, but because it was Act of Defiance, to sort of play off what Brian was saying, that's what was probably the inspiration for the Katie character, because to really honor Hunt, which is what we wanted to do. In Act of Defiance, we wanted to find that blend of nostalgia and calling out all those cool elements, but make it fresh and new. And we didn't know how we could do that without having a protagonist that would be analogous to Jack Ryan, like he's saying. He was a young CIA analyst, fish out of water then. How do you recapture that? And we couldn't think of a way shy of this. And so just doing the math, was like, well, we have this other daughter, haven't heard from her since she was like 6 or 8 or whatever she was when she was almost kidnapped. she's all grown up now. What is she doing? I know what she's doing. She's in ONI and she's a Naval Academy graduate. And we pitched that to Tom like this, like, please say that works for you. And he was like, oh, that sounds great. So it afforded us that opportunity to bring the series back to that vibe, that, you know, fish out of water, dog with a bone. What in the hell is a naval intelligence officer doing going aboard a submarine? Like Clancy really crushed that. And we wanted to try to honor that. And it was so well received. We're able to continue it into Defense Protocol. And now the third book that we just turned in, Executive Powers. We certainly aren't inventing Jack Ryan. So, you know, Tom Clancy invented him. He is so mature now. I mean, the films are different. The Krasinski TV show went in a different, that's a reimagining of Ryan. But if you look at the original books and who Jack Ryan was, by the time we get this series 23 books later, everybody who's a fan knows who Jack Ryan is. And so who is he? He's a Boy Scout, right? He's been called that in books and films. Like he is a guy that does the right thing even when it's hard to do. He does the hard right instead of the easy wrong. He is driven by service, he's driven by commitment and patriotism above his needs, above even the needs of his family, which you see reflected in Defense Protocol. And so that's what we wanted to flesh out. We wanted to embrace that side of Ryan that you didn't maybe see in the books leading up to it because we hadn't introduced, other than Jack Jr., who's a badass, right? Other than Jack Jr., you don't really see stakes for him personally and intimately with other family members. And so we asked ourselves, what would that be like? What would that be like for a Jack Ryan who always does the right thing, who's going to put the nation first, if his baby girl is out there on the pointy tip of the spear, if Kyle is out there in executive power and in harm's way? So that was really, really fun for us to explore. We have to keep Jack Ryan, but how is that relationship with his family going to drive and conflict decisions that he has to make as the, you know, commander in chief?
Every author wants to write. And so what's really cool about our partnership is that from the beginning, we both made it clear that, hey, we're excited to write. It's not going to be a situation where one person is sort of the editor or the other person's the business person. One person does all the writing and supervising. So, and I know some co-author teams work that way. I think it depends on where your stages are in your career and how you gel as a partnership. But we're a true writing team. And so we write third person, multi POV. We divide up chapters. We're writing simultaneously. And the other really cool thing is that we switch characters. So both of us get a chance to occupy the headspace of all the different point of view characters throughout the writing process. So number one, that makes it really fun. Number two, we both get to know all the characters. And number three, there's a little bit of our own personality and intellect and experience that informs, how those characters behave and act. And by the end of the book, I think what makes it really cool is that Andrews and Wilson really is a blend of both of our, experiences and personalities. And so when you read our books, you get a different feel than you do if we were to try to write a book individually. It would have a different feel and a different impact. And so yeah, we both write both characters, so a little bit of Jack Ryan coming from each of us.
I think the geopolitics of the world definitely informs us. You know, as former naval officers, both of us continue, not just because of what we do for a living and it sort of helps our brand, but because of our own intellectual curiosity. We read voraciously about, the current geopolitic. And so we're well versed, well read. We stay in communication with close friends that are still on the pointy tip. And so those things are always bumping around in your head. So as an author, when you ask your next what if question, it's almost inevitable that it's going to be something pulled from the real world. You know, in Collateral, for example, we write this book about Russia invading Ukraine, and we did it before it happened. And my wife was upset. She was like, do you think that Putin read your book? Because he really did it exactly the way that we proposed it. It's better to be lucky than good. We're certainly not prescient, but if you understand and educate yourselves, there's certain ways that people act. So on the one hand, yes, we are very motivated and informed by the current world geopolitic. On the other hand, I think we also tend to take a true hero's arc. We're very apolitical. We're totally nonpartisan. We're like Jack Ryan's a great example, or Kelso Jarvis in the later books. These are the leaders we want to have, right? And so they are balanced by both, principle and motivation that's pure. And so I think that when you look at how Jack Ryan reacts, it's how we hope whoever the president is would react, putting the nation first, putting our people first. But there is something to be said about being a little unpredictable, right? Like remember Reagan in the Reagan years, they were always like, oh, he's going to bring about World War III, right? He's like a cowboy. He's got his finger on the button. But it brought about incredible peace because the bad guys also were like, this guy's crazy. He's got his finger on the button. We got to not. So I think there's some truth maybe to that. But in our books, always remain politically agnostic, partisan agnostic, and we write the world the way as naval officers we want it to be, right? You serve whoever. The commander in chief is the commander in chief, and you are there to execute policy, not to decide it. And we try to reflect that in the books.